And welcome to RTF Sports Talk. I am Mako Buckheister on the Twitter machine at MBuck41. Welcome to today's show, guys. Sorry about yesterday. We had a little hiccup. My fault. I'm a loser, I guess, or something. I don't know, but it is what it is. But joined, as always, with my man, Marcus the Freak. Marcus, how you doing today, buddy? How you doing?
Pretty good, Michael. Yeah, missed yesterday, but we're back on strong today. Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing good. Had a good day so far.
Yeah, I mean, you should be skating sky high. Your Texas Longhorns won the NIT last night.
Yeah, they did okay.
How is the vibe around the Texas Longhorn community? Are you guys pretty hyped about it, or are you kind of like, yeah, it's just a win?
A little bit of both. I mean, they salvaged the season, I guess you could say, by winning the NIT championship. I mean, they could have just folded and went home and had a 16-16 record, but they were able to win 5 games, get to 21-16, and it helps for next season. It's springs them into next season. I think it was a good thing. Now, would I have rather made the NCAA tournament and got to the Elite Eight or something like that? Sure, absolutely.
100%.
But winning the NIT is a pretty good consolation prize. It's not bad. Like I said, they salvaged the season.
Well, speaking of next season, like I wasn't going to go here, but you kind of perked my interest for next season. The Big 12 and Big East released their schedules, and like apparently it's a Big East Big 12 challenge next year. It looks like looks like your Texas Longhorns playing Providence.
You know what? I saw you posted that. I saw you posted that somewhere. I haven't even had a chance to take a look at it. That ought to be exciting. Big 12 versus Big East.
Well, why don't we just run through the games here real quick? Like we have Marquette versus Kansas State, Kansas versus Villanova. That's a kind of a very intriguing game there.
That is.
Oklahoma, Creighton, Texas, Providence, Butler, Baylor, Georgetown, Oklahoma State, Seton Hall, Iowa State, Texas Tech versus DePaul, West Virginia versus St. John's, and Xavier versus TCU.
Those are all intriguing matchups. Those are all really good programs. I can't think of a terrible program you just mentioned. I mean, there may be some of those programs are average right now, or a little bit above average, but everybody you just mentioned, those are going to be some really intriguing games next year. Absolutely. Yeah. All those teams are going to have a shot. Every team you just mentioned will have a shot at making the NCAA tournament easily.
Yeah, and actually, my dad asked me hey, how do you think our conference, the Big 12 conference, is going to fare? I'm like 8-2.
You think? Wow, 8-2. Okay.
So I think the only losses are going to come from Kansas and Kansas State.
Okay. Well, 8-2 is pretty. You're shooting for the stars there a little bit, but hey, I'll take 8-2. That sounds good to me.
I mean, and really I think the only game that really scares me is I don't know much about St. John's. I very rarely see them on ESPN ever anymore. And that Georgetown team, I think they're coached by Patrick Ewing, if I'm not mistaken, or is it Seton Hall is coached by?
No, Georgetown was
Georgetown.
Georgetown's coached by Patrick Ewing. But yeah, I mean, it's so early to even look at those things. But yeah. I mean.
The season's not even over yet.
Yeah, 8-2, you're shooting for the stars there. I mean, yeah, St. John's guy has a really good history. Louis Carnesecca, their old coach. I mean,
the key word's their history, though. They have a great history.
They have an unbelievable history there. Yeah. Chris Mullen, Mark Jackson. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, we're already looking for the 2020 season, and the 2019 season is not even over yet. The Final Four starts tomorrow. You have Michigan State versus Texas Tech, and then you have Auburn versus it's
Virginia. Yeah,
Virginia. Drawing a blank. My fault. But it does start Saturday afternoon here. First of all, who do you think is going to surprise you the most out of these two games? Like, who is your player to watch?
Wow, I mean, that's a really good question. There are a bunch of players to watch. I mean, Jarrett Culver from Texas Tech is going to be a lottery pick. I mean, he's right outside that R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson, John Morant, right there in that category. He's only averaging like 21 points a game in the tournament, so he hasn't really gone off and had this unbelievable game yet. That possibly could happen. I don't think it'll happen because the defense Michigan State employs will not allow that to happen. But Jarrett Culver is a talent to watch. He reminds me a little bit of DeMar DeRozan. Maybe not has the handle like DeMar DeRozan, but he's right there and like a DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar went like number 9 overall in the 2009 draft. They're very similar. Okay, but so Jarrett Culver could go off. Cassius Winston's a good, steady, heady player. He reminds me of a short Dennis Johnson. He controls the game. That's a good candidate to be Final Four MVP.
That's
You
a
got
great
Jarrett
pick
Culver,
right there. Yep.
and Jarrett Culver, and then you have Jared Harper from Auburn, little 5'11" dynamo there. He could be your Final Four MVP. He has got a wealth of speed. He knows how to run the team. He hits threes. He gets to the rim. He puts so much pressure on your defense. And so, yeah, I wouldn't rule out Diakite either from Virginia. That's another one. DeAndre Hunter from Virginia as well. DeAndre Hunter also is in that lottery range. He's not up there with Jarrett Culver and Zion and him, but DeAndre Hunter's right in that top 10, like maybe 10 to 14 range is going to go in the draft. They compare him to Kawhi Leonard a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he has the athleticism that Kawhi Leonard has, DeAndre Hunter that is. But DeAndre Hunter's a pretty good defender, and he can score the basketball. So each team has players that could easily see winning like the Final Four MVP. This is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying, and I like your pick from Auburn. I've seen those guys play 4 times now this season, and Auburn's a very, very good team. But I think you told me the wrong guy on Auburn. You have to look at Bryce Brown from Auburn. This kid, he is a 3-point shooting monster, and I seen him go off versus Kentucky. I think it was the first time they played actually. Kentucky was up on Auburn by almost 20 points, and Bryce Brown hit 7 threes in the second half to bring them to the point of almost winning the game. They only lost by 2 points in that game. He is a very, very he's a volume shooter. So
yeah.
You may not see him go off in the first half. He might even have 0 points for on, I don't know, 7 shots. But in the second half, you best watch out because he can go off at any time.
Michael, I'm right there with you. I mean, Brown can shoot the lights out of the ball. This Auburn team looks like a team of destiny. They look like they're a team on a mission. Last year, they won the SEC conference tournament, and then they failed in the second round to, I believe it was Clemson.
Yeah.
And since then, Bruce Pearl's got those kids on a mission. You talk about Purifoy, McLemore, Doughty, and they're doing it without what's called Okeke. Yep. And you wonder when that's going to come back and hurt them, being without Okeke, who's also going to be in the NBA one day. But it doesn't look like it's hurt them so far. Because this guy, Anthony McLemore, has been absolutely fabulous. And I think McLemore is the one that blocked P.J. Washington in Kentucky a couple times and was challenging P.J. Washington at the rim, McLemore, that is. And Auburn just looks really good. They look like they're on a team on a mission, a destiny. So any one of those guys, I just think the guy that makes everything go is little Jared Harper. And so I look for Auburn to make some noise. These games are going to be really, really competitive. I don't see a blowout in any of these games. There's absolutely no way because the defense is going to be too good to allow any blowouts. Yeah. No team's going to go on some 15-0 run here.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Okeke guy. I don't remember him against any I don't remember him being a standout at any of the Kentucky games that I watched them play, but it seemed like every other game he played, he must have stepped up and been the man because I think he was averaging 16 points a game if I'm not mistaken in the regular season. In the tournament, he was doing good. He was doing good things too. So I kind of feel like I saw an interview on Bruce Pearl he's like, hey, we had to learn how to play like without Okeke on the fly because he got hurt on Friday and they had to play on Sunday. So they had one day to prepare. But now they've gotten a whole week to prepare. So definitely look like just like you keep saying, Auburn looks like a team on a mission, on a destiny. Think about this. Auburn has had to play 3 blue blood teams. They beat Kansas, they beat North Carolina, and they beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
What other team do you want them to beat to be like, hey, this team you gotta watch out? The only thing that would have made their tournament even more successful, beating Duke in the championship.
Yeah.
They beat Kansas, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Duke all en route to a championship. All 4 blue blood schools. Come on,
Yeah.
that'd be crazy.
And here's your consolation prize. Go beat Virginia and Coach Bennett. I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be hard to do as well. I mean,
yeah.
if Auburn wins this Final Four, you talk about earning it, Michael. You just mentioned it. Virginia's an excellent basketball team, and they're a team of redemption as well. Virginia, that is. You lose last year to UMBC, a 16 beating a 1.
They were the mock
you're
of the,
one seed
mock
that
of the
lost.
college for how long?
I mean, yeah, that's never happened before. You're a complete embarrassment to your school. And then for them to come back and then make it to the Final Four, that is a good redemption story. I know there's not that many good stories in the Final Four. Like, there's no Loyola Chicago or anything like that going on. But Virginia, even though they're the number 1 seed, to come back from losing from a 16 beating a 1 last year, that is a big deal. And then not only that, Michael, the first round, Virginia was down to what? Greensboro?
Yeah.
UNC Greensboro. They were down like 14 one time in the first half. And you're like, uh-oh, here it goes again. And once they got by Greensboro, they've been playing well. And I know it took a last-second shot by Diakite, but Virginia's a story of redemption. And, Auburn's the looks like they're going to be a good story as well. Team of destiny, but Virginia, nobody's talking about this story of redemption for Virginia, and it's right there. The fact that they're in the Final Four, you got to give them a lot of credit. You got to give Coach Bennett a lot of credit, and they're pretty smooth customers, man. When they play, they're one of the few teams that you look in college basketball, teams panic when the shot clock goes down, It's in scramble mode. Well, Virginia feels comfortable when the shot clock gets to 10 seconds. That's their game. That's where they're going to beat you. The ball movement, you're scrambling around. Matter of fact, the defense is scrambling around more than the offense.
Yeah.
They look comfortable within the last 10 seconds of a shot clock. And the guy that's got to come through for them, not only DeAndre Hunter, we talked about Diakite, is Kyle Guy. He's been on a little bit of a slump to the last game. And guys got to hit some shots for Virginia to win the game. But Virginia, they spread you out real well on offense, and they play good, strong defense. This Final Four to me is great. It's must-see TV in my opinion, and I don't think you're going to get a score over 80. All these teams that are left now they get after your butt defensively. There's going to be no team. There's no score that's going to be 85 to 88. I guarantee it.
The only way that'll happen is if Auburn just goes crazy versus Virginia, because when Virginia played, who was our last game that they played against? Purdue. Purdue kind of went off a tad bit, and Virginia kind of played a hurry up mode, and you saw their offensive skill. Actually, I believe the final score was 89 to 88 or something.
It went in overtime too for that as well.
Right.
But Purdue had one guy go off. He had Carson Edwards. But right.
And let me flash back there to UNC Greensboro like a tad bit. I do another podcast called Big Blue Breakdown with my man Matthew Lyle. Shout out, bud. Hope everything's doing well for him. He's having a miracle happen in his life right now. It's a very good time for him. But he personally, I want to give him every prop that there is, and he said UNC Greensboro, when they played Kentucky earlier in this year, hey guys, do not sleep on this team. They're a very, very good team. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament. They're going to make some noise. They're a very, very old veteran team. I think it was the youngest player on the team is 22 years old. So, like I said on Wednesday, when you have a bunch of 23, 20, 24-year-olds playing against 17, 18-year-old kids, that kind of wears you out, and I think that's what UNC Greensboro did against Virginia, in that game.
No, your boy Kyle was right on the money then, because Greensboro gave Virginia in that first round everything they could handle.
Yeah, they gave Kentucky everything they handle. Yes, it was earlier in the season. that's when the fan base is all these guys are nothing but an NIT team. I actually want to get into fan bases a little bit, like maybe once everything slows down, just like a tad bit, like the best and worst fan bases. But
Okay.
I think the Kentucky fan base, man, they are so up and down. They are like a bipolar woman, man. It's just like you do one thing wrong, oh, you suck, you're horrible, this, and this, and then you go and you destroy it, North Carolina by 20. Oh, we're a championship team. One side of the other coin or the other. Calm down, boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we get into the picks, like I feel like, there are teams that you strongly dislike. Maybe you can say hate. My team that I hate is KU because I'm a Kansas State fan. You know, at heart, I'm a K-State alum. I played football up there, and I hate the Jayhawks. I don't care if they're in my conference or or not. I hate them 100%. I want them to lose by 20 every time they step on the court. But looking at this Final Four, I don't have a team that I hate. I kind of see myself secretly rooting for everybody. You know,
Right.
I mean, if Virginia were to win, they're on the redemption tour, like you were talking about. If Auburn wins, they're on a destiny tour. If Texas Tech wins, this is their first Final Four. Why not win the championship? And Michigan State, they had that scandal that came out last year or two years ago. That this would be great rebirth of the program. Tom Izzo is a historical coach. So I mean, there was nobody you can really hate. I don't think in the Final Four.
Yeah. Izzo had to answer some tough questions on that on that what you were talking about. Yeah, that was tough for that program. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's just jump into it here. Who do you got winning that first matchup?
Listen, I think it's the night game first, the one I'll go first. Texas Tech versus Michigan State. This is going to be unbelievable. And it's not going to be, when I say unbelievable, it's for the true basketball people here, because first one to 40 will win this game.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
The defense is going to be that good. I mean, Texas State gets after your butt. I think, what did we talk about the other day? Mark Few Gonzaga said Texas Tech is very handsy. They put their hands on you. They challenge the shooters very well. I mean, I'm 5'10" and a half, and I can shoot the ball pretty well. I'd be worried on that perimeter. I'm going to get my shot blocked. And even if I was 6'5", I'd be worried on the perimeter getting my shot blocked. Did you see Tariq Owens last game for Texas Tech block Hachimura from Gonzaga, who's 6'8"? He blocked his three-point shot at the end of the game. I mean, Tariq Owens is 6'10", has long arms. You can't breathe with Texas Tech. I mean, they're that good defensively. I always knew they were good defensively. Hell, I watched the Big 12.
Oh, yeah.
But then when they played Buffalo in the NCAA tournament, University of Buffalo went through a stretch. They were 0 for 18. I mean, think about that for a second. Buffalo went 0 for 18 versus Texas Tech's defense in a stretch of the game. Texas Tech's unbelievable defensively. I think Texas Tech will shock Michigan State here. I love Izzo and the boys, but maybe they'll run a box and one on Cassius Winston, but I don't think they'll even do that. They play that good heady defense. Mooney and Moretti are pretty good. They know where to be. And Mooney and Moretti hit big-time shots. If Culver gets going, look out. Owens is in the middle. I tell you what, I'm going to take Texas Tech beating Michigan State 60-55. That'd be that's my prediction. And that game's actually the nightcap.
Yeah.
The first game, Auburn and Virginia, actually the first game out on Saturday. This is another one, first one to 40 wins. Now, Michael, I'm going to piggyback off what you said, and you're exactly right. Auburn likes to run, so this is a contrasting of styles here. The only way somebody gets to 80 points is if Auburn finds the Virginia weakness and gets up and down the court, and Virginia's not shooting the ball very well. And Virginia hates playing against three-point shooting teams, and this is exactly what Auburn is. The only way to get Virginia out of the game, you start bombing threes on their butt, and they get a little bit rattled defensively. Then Auburn runs that fast break, and they want to run. Sometimes they run for layups, but most of the time they want to run to the three-point line. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take – man, and it's a big loss with Okiki, but you wonder when that's going to come back to bite them. But it's not going to come back to bite them on Saturday. I'm going to take Auburn beating Virginia. Kind of around the similar score here. We're talking 66-63. I think these are going to be games that come down to the wire. It will be interesting to me to see Jared Harper, the point guard, if he starts going off and getting people involved, and Virginia can't handle him. Clark, the freshman, can't handle Harper. It'd be interesting to see if Virginia and Coach Bennett does what Greg Popovich used to do with Bruce Bowen. He would put out a fire. So you put DeAndre Hunter at 6'7" on Jared Harper and say, okay, look, we're not going to let you, Jared Harper, we're not going to let you run around all day. We're going to put our best defender, DeAndre Hunter, on you, see if we can put out that fire and try to nullify Harper some kind of way. And that'll be interesting to see if Bennett does that move maybe in the last 5 minutes of a game. That's where I think that he would do that move. But other than that, no, I got Auburn winning this game in another close game. So I got Auburn and Texas Tech Monday night.
And I'm going to start right there on the Auburn game that you were just talking about. I do think you're right on that. I don't think Virginia likes to run, but we saw against Purdue that they can run and they can be successful about it. I believe at one point versus Purdue, they were down by 12 points. And like they didn't panic. They picked up the pace a little bit. They hit a couple big threes, and within 45 seconds, it was a tied game again. It was so. I think Virginia is a chameleon. They can adapt to any type of style of play that you need them to play with. It's like if Auburn is going to play high speed, Virginia will work that shot clock, but they can also get up and down the court too. They're a very, very well coached. They're very, very well coached team. They're a very, very fundamentally sound team as well. So they, and I don't know how many seniors they have, but they seem to have that veteran mindset too. And I think a lot of that comes from playing in the ACC. Yes, I do think the ACC is not the best conference, but they have very, very strong competition head to toe. So, think about this. They played Duke twice. They played North Carolina twice.
Some good coaches.
Yeah. They played Florida State. So they've had early season competition where teams like to get up and down the court. And so this isn't going to be anything new for them, but everything that I said, throw that out the window, because I think Auburn is going to win this game. I think Bryce Brown he's going to have a 30-point game. He is going to put the team on the back, and I do think it's going to be the first team to 40 that just wins two, but don't be surprised if it's a 45-40 game with 6 minutes left, and then at the end of the game, it's a 70-point game. I think most of the scoring is going to come in the last 10 minutes of that game, and it's going to catapult Auburn and just give them the momentum into that championship game. So and looking at ESPN here, they are giving Virginia 80% chance to beat Auburn.
That's a lot. Wow.
With a 6-point spread as well. So me and you are in the boat here of picking the underdog, and in that one too. Transitioning over to the Michigan State Texas Tech game, the ESPN is giving Michigan State a 62% chance to win. It's a little bit more feasible, I guess, and it's only a 3-point spread. So I look for Culver to have a good game versus Michigan State. I think he's due for one of those just explosive, I'm going to do whatever I want games. I think he's averaged about 20 points a game throughout the season, and when you only score 45 points in a game for Texas Tech, like they've been pretty much all season, 50 to 55 points tops. You're scoring a third of your team's points. I don't think Michigan State is going to be able to stop them, to be honest. This one I think is going to be the same exact way. It is going to be an ugly first 30-minute game. It's do not be surprised like if halftime scores 29-24. Just in favor of Michigan State. I think Michigan State is going to go into halftime leading that game. Then Culver, second half for Texas Tech, he shoots lights out, and they pull out to a 10-point lead and end up winning the game by 7. I think this game will be very, very one-sided. I think Texas Tech is just going to go up there. Their defense is going to smother Michigan State. Michigan State hasn't seen a defense like this all season.
They haven't,
and they're going to be shell shocked, and it's just going to wear them out in the end.
I will guarantee you, if you were watching the Michigan Texas Tech game with Tom Izzo, he was probably freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech made Michigan look like a Harry high school team. It was amazing to watch. Michigan looked like they couldn't even play basketball playing against Texas Tech's defense. I was amazed. If Texas Tech applies that same pressure, same defense, Michigan State's in for a tough time. I know Izzo is worried right now. I know that for a fact. There's no way. Everybody's singing his praises. Oh, Izzo, he's great, and he is great. He hasn't seen anything like Texas Tech, and I know Izzo's worried right now. He's probably been up every night trying to study this Texas Tech defense. And the funny thing just go back to my picks real quick. I'm picking Texas Tech and Auburn, I guess the two underdogs according to ESPN. Where ESPN would be right, I'm just giving this. If this was a 7-game series in the NBA, I might pick Michigan State 4-3 in a 7-game series. I might pick Virginia to beat Auburn in a 7-game series like in a Game 7. Right. But this is not that. This is far from that. This is a one-and-done setting on a neutral field, neutral court, and that's why I'm going to take Texas Tech and Auburn.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you as well on that. Since it is a one-game setting here, I don't think even if it was a 3-game series, I think I would flip-flop my picks because Virginia and Michigan State are that good, and then they will be able to adjust on that day off in Game 2 and Game 3 would be totally opposite what we see in Game 1. But the one-game settings, I have to agree, anything can happen. So, and
then I think we both agree on there's going to be no blowouts here.
No.
I don't see any team getting ahead of somebody by 15. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think the largest point spread we will see is a 10-point in the Texas Tech Michigan State game, just because there are always runs in college basketball. There's always a 7-0 run. There's always a 10-0 run. Always, it never fails.
Right,
but. I think that run is going to be Michigan State because when they come out in the second half, because they'll still be fresh. They'll be like, oh, we're just fresh out of the locker room. They hit a couple big shots, and then boom, it's a 7-0 run. It might be a 12-point game. Texas Tech finds their grooves, and it's game over. You probably won't see Michigan State score for about an 8-minute stretch, maybe a 9-minute stretch.
Yeah.
So we both had the same championship game. We have Texas Tech versus Auburn. Who do you got in that?
Yeah, I'm going to go, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. I did actually, my only Final Four team left is Auburn. I had Auburn in the championship game versus Gonzaga.
Okay.
But I
see you.
If I didn't watch any of the games, I'd pick Auburn, because I actually had them in the championship game. But I think this is where finally Okeke, not having his presence on the inside and his all-around effect on the game, I think it will finally catch up to Auburn in the championship game, and I think Texas Tech's defense is too much. I think Mooney and Moretti, they're dead-eye shooters from the outside. Tariq Owens is roaming that paint, like I mentioned earlier, and Culver's due for a big game. It could come Saturday. It could come Monday. Hell, it could come in both games because he's that type of player. Like I said, he reminds me of DeMar DeRozan. I picked Texas Tech in this one-game scenario to win the championship in this Final Four. They've showed me too much. Their defense on Buffalo, their defense on Michigan has been too strong. I've been completely impressed. They've evolved as a team all throughout the year. I was even down on them in the Big 12 tournament because they bowed out early, but they have been on an absolute mission, and I think that mission will continue. I think they'll cut down the nets Monday night beating Auburn. and that's going to be a fascinating basketball game.
Yeah, Auburn had a early exit too in the SEC tournament,
Yeah.
but I think if both of these teams would have made it, say, through the conference championship, they wouldn't be here. They would be tired. They would be wore
Yeah.
out too. To be honest,
Right. Sometimes that's a blessing in disguise to
yeah,
go out
is
early.
it, just like is like exactly there. So you're picking Texas Tech. I'm going to go on the other side of the coin. I'm going to go with Auburn. Just like we've been saying the last 2 weeks here, Auburn is just they're just a team that is it is just the writing is already on the wall. The paint just has to dry. La la la. I think they are just they're on a tear, and just beating those three big teams that we talked about earlier, the Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky is just faith is on their side. I want to say, and
Yeah.
I think. I mean, like, what? First of all, what better storyline is it that two teams that never made it to the Final Four makes it to the championship? Like that right there is just a very magical
Yeah.
moment there.
Chris, yeah, and the Texas Tech coach, that's a great story. Chris Beard,
Yeah.
coming from where he's come from and his coaching ranks and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce Pearl, longtime coach at Milwaukee and Tennessee, and especially Tennessee, going to Auburn, and creating putting his system there in Auburn, changing the culture a little bit. He said he got to Auburn. He said he didn't see any statues of Charles Barkley. He said, I need pictures and statues of Charles Barkley so I can show these recruits Barkley played here.
Right.
You know, Chuck Person played here. Chris Morris, who was a lottery pick, played here. The late, great Mike Mitchell from San Antonio played at Auburn and was great in the NBA. He said he needs more pictures of those guys. Wesley Person played in the NBA. Wesley Person, Chuck Person's little brother. There's some great NBA players that played at Auburn, and he wanted the kids, the recruits, to see these. Hey, look, you get here, you go to school, do your homework, absolutely, but you can also make it to the NBA. And he didn't see that at Auburn. He's changing the culture there a little bit at Auburn. And so that would be a big feather in his cap to win a championship there. That'd be unbelievable for Coach Bruce Pearl. And I like him. I like the guy. The fact that he's here is a good feather in his cap. I tell you what NBA scouts want to see, though. I got the Texas Tech Auburn matchup. The Texas Tech Virginia matchup is probably what NBA scouts want to see, because then you'd have the ultimate matchup of 6'6" Jarrett Culver versus 6'7" DeAndre Hunter going at each other in the final there on Monday night. Can DeAndre Hunter guard Jarrett Culver? You know that because they're going to guard each other at the NBA level. They'll both probably be in the rookie game,
Right.
Because they're both going to be lottery picks. So they'll both probably be in the rookie game in the NBA. And that'd be a great matchup to see those two guys go at it. They're similar in size. DeAndre Hunter's probably a little stronger than Culver. But yeah, that would be a great matchup just to see those two go at it alone. But, I have Auburn and Texas Tech. You have the same thing. So we probably, in our opinion, we won't see that matchup. But that would be a fun matchup to see.
Yeah, that would definitely be the lowest scoring NCAA tournament
Yeah.
game ever. Like the final score, 35-37.
Yeah, we're not exaggerating. It sounds like we might be exaggerating, but if you watch Michigan, Texas Tech, Michigan couldn't even get to 30. Like, it was crazy for
Right.
the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
You was just like, oh my God,
What
Texas
they had
Tech
19 and a half.
defense?
I think it was 19 points at halftime.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But yeah, so guys, that is our final four picks on Friday, April 5th here. Obviously, when Monday's show rolls around, hopefully we're right. The freak over there. But if we're not, we will we're definitely going to talk about the championship ship game, guys. Don't get it twisted. Even if it is Michigan State and Virginia, I think it's going to be a good game either way. No matter how the games fall out, what there's 6 possibilities that can happen or something like that. I think any possibility that we get is going to have a great game. But on the next side of the break, we've been in the amateur league for quite a while here. Let's jump up to the association. So we're going to talk a little bit NBA draft next, guys. So come back with us, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, welcome back. I am Michael Buckeister, and this is RTF Sports Talk here. Guys, thank you for spending some time with us here this afternoon. If you are new and listening to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., considering following us on those respective platforms, leave us a ranking as well. I was just on our iTunes link last night. We do have a 5-star rating, guys, so check us out, even though it is 2 rankings, but hey, it is what it is. We got a couple rankings in there. If you're listening to us on YouTube Live here, we are live on the YouTube channels Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 1:45 Eastern Time. That's 12:45 Central, give or take a few minutes, just depending on how traffic is. Because we have a long way to go from our beds to our chairs. So sometimes traffic's a little crazy over there. If you are on the YouTube, consider subscribing as well. Like, comment, and share all the possible things that we have here. But Marcus, we've been talking amateur basketball for a little while, and not very much long, these amateurs are going to go and make some millions of dollars. Some notable people that have declared for the NBA draft. Ja Morant declared yesterday. There's been some other notable names. We are anticipating Zion to declare for the draft. Barrett, PJ Washington from Kentucky. We are not going to go for the full 2 rounds of the draft. But in your opinion right now, if everybody were to declare for the draft that they were, that we all anticipate them to, who is your top 5 picks? Who are your top 5 players coming out of college and going to the NBA next year?
Well, look, Zion Williamson is the clear number 1 pick. I
don't know about clear here, but I'll let you go.
Well, I don't think there's any more clear pick that's been in a while. I mean, he is the real deal, the raw talent that everybody craves. I mean, this guy's the real deal. He can play the 4 or the 5 in the NBA. He can play small ball 5. He can play the power forward at 4. He just has to develop if he wants to last long in the league, he's going to have to develop a better jump shot, and he's going to have to get his skill set in order to be a playmaking, and maybe he can even move to the 3 position. But right now in the NBA, he's a 4 or 5, and he will be one of those 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks player right off the bat. 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks a night, 32 minutes. And he can play the 4 or the 5. He's the number 1 overall pick. The only way that he's not the number 1 overall pick is if the Phoenix Suns somehow grab the number 1 pick. And I think they would have to take a long look at Ja Morant to go with Devin Booker and be a backcourt there for many years to come. If Ja Morant develops a jump shot, like an Isaiah Thomas type jump shot, Ja Morant will be an NBA All-Star every year he's in the league, or every year after his rookie year. I could see a situation where Ja Morant in 10 years is still an NBA All-Star, and Zion Williamson has faded away because his athleticism has waned, and he didn't develop a skill set to be the 3. So that's also a possibility, because when your athleticism goes at 280 pounds, Zion Williamson is gonna have to develop a skill set to when he's 30 years old to be relevant. He can't just rely on jumping and leaping ability for so long. Ja Morant would then be the better pick, because 10 years from now, Ja Morant will still be shooting jumpers and getting people in pick-and-roll situations and kicking butt. So Phoenix Suns, if they had the number 1 pick, I think they would debate it, Ja Morant or Zion Williamson. But other than that, if anybody else gets that number 1 pick, they're probably going to take Zion Williamson. Number 3, that's a tough one, because I'm a little down on R.J. Barrett. I guess he's still your number 3 overall pick. I think there's a big – there is a gap between 1 and 2. And I think the draft starts at the third spot. I think it's clearly the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft are Zion Williamson and Ja Morant. After that, the 3rd pick, it's a drop off. It's a tiny drop off. It's a tiny drop off, but it's a drop off. So you look at Hachimura from Gonzaga, R.J. Barrett, DeAndre Hunter. He's a hell of a defender, and if DeAndre Hunter's shooting the basketball well and he can play defense like that, he can be right there. Jarrett Culver, we talked about, and DeAndre Hunter. Cameron Reddish from Duke, he fell off. He used to be back before in some early mock drafts, and including my mock draft, he used to be right there at 3 or 4. He's now, I think I got him around 10. He's got to get a better feel for the game. I'm talking about Cameron Reddish from Duke. He's got to get a better feel for the game. He can shoot the ball, but his NCAA tournament run wasn't good, and it didn't look good, and he's dropped off a little bit. Like you mentioned, he's still going to be a millionaire, but
Yeah.
he's fallen off a little bit. So I guess R.J. Barrett, Hachimura, Kobe White. We talked about him yesterday. DeAndre Hunter. All these guys are really good. Um, I'll tell you what, even Bol, Manu Bol's son, I think could creep into the lottery after some pre-draft workouts. So right there are your top players for the NBA draft. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I I hear everything you are saying, but I want to start right there at the top at the Zion and the Jaw talk here. Like you are definitely spot on there. I think if the Phoenix Suns do get that first overall pick, they will definitely take Ja Morant. I think they need something to spark this young core that they have. They trusted the process, as Philly likes to say, for a very very long time here, and it's just it's something said that just a high flyer, a person that can play anywhere. The one upside that Ja Morant has is he can be a point guard. He can be a shooting guard. He can even be a small forward if he needs to be. The only knock that I have on Ja right now is he blossomed on a team that is not a big name team. Like to be honest, his competition was kind of superior all year. Playing I saw him play versus Evansville. To be honest, I think my local high school team could have beat Evansville, and Evansville gave them a good run. So
No, I get you. That's funny. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he the competition he played wasn't great, but then that kind of put a little bit of dismissal to that, Michael, when they went up against Marquette, and then John Morant dominated Marquette as well. So
yeah.
he showed that he could do it against big boy competition. But you're right. Before the Marquette game, we didn't see it.
Well,
so
if you want to talk about them a little bit, I think Marquette's kind of in the same boat. Who did they play like all year? Yeah, they played Kansas State earlier in the year when they were down. I think we had 4 hurt players like in that game, and I think Marquette jumped as high as 16 seed. The 16th ranking during that little time stretch from December to early February there, and then they kind of fell off and kind of sneaked into the tournament. So I wouldn't even say they were a big competition team. They're coming from the Big East, and they didn't really have a lot of competition this year outside of Villanova. But then you get to Zion here. It all depends what team gets him. What team gets the first overall pick. Let's say the first overall pick is the Knicks. I think Knicks scoop him up instantly because they need a big man to help Knox. Knox is the he's been kind of playing this power forward spot here, and he doesn't like playing power forward. He wants to be outside. He wants to be that small forward, that three guy that sits out on the wing, shoots it from the outside, and drives when he wants to drive. He doesn't want to get down in the post and bang with the big bodies at all. So right now I think I have number 1 Ja Morant. I think he will be the must-see TV in the NBA to start out, but he will be must-see TV for the first few months. Then people start to figure him out. He tinkers off just a tad bit, but I think he is the ticket seller because people want to see big dunks. They want to see him shoot, steal, etc.
Yeah,
I have him number 1, Zion 2, Barrett number 3. That's kind of tough because R.J. Barrett did kind of fade away in the tournament just a tad bit. There are times when you're like, where did RJ go? Well, why isn't he shooting? That kind of thing. And then number 4, I have Romeo Langford from Indiana. Romeo is a local product here. I've seen him play many games in
And he just declared, right?
Yeah, he declared.
Yeah.
We were actually at dinner last night at my brother-in-law's house, and we got a thing on our phone said he has declared for the draft. He is going to be a great pro. He may not wow you in the stat sheet like every night, but he is going to keep his nose clean. He is going to score you your 15, 16 points a night, get you 8 or 9 boards, and he's an ultimate team player. So he will fit on any system. If you need him to play the 4, he'll play the 4. If you need him to play the 2, he'll play the 2. He is just like, he wants to play. He wants to be great. So that's why I have him as number 4, and then number 5 I got the guy from LSU, Reed, the freshman. He just declared yesterday as well. I think he is going to be a very good prospect as well on that. I'm not for sure how his game will transfer to the NBA game, but I definitely think he is going to be a really good pro in year 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, I love Naz Reid from LSU. He's a grown man at 19. Have you ever seen a more grown man than Naz Reid? I mean, the guy's 19 years old. I showed him to my son, 6'10" LSU Naz Reid, and I said, the guy looks like he's 30 years old.
Right.
The guy looks like he has 4 kids, and he's already in the NBA. That guy is a monster. And what I love about him is he can hit threes, he can control the paint, and he can hit threes. So I mean, you're talking about a guy that can play multiple positions. He can play the 3, 4, or the 5 in the NBA. He can't play the 1 or the 2. Although the NBA basketball has become a little bit positionless. You just put your best 5 out there on some nights.
Right.
But Reed's a monster. I love your pick with Reed. I've seen most mock drafts. I have him right around the lottery, like around that 10, the backside of the lottery, around 10 to 14. But hey, if you want to put, I would have no problem if you had the 5th pick overall and you were the Atlanta Hawks and you wanted to take Naz Reid. I wouldn't come in and say, "What are you doing?" That guy's a heck of a player. He's a heck of a talent. I mean, bottom line on this draft, I think we both agree there's 2 transcendent talents though in this draft. There's Zion Williamson and John Morant. I'm talking about athletic-wise. Yeah. I'm not talking about they're going to be Larry Bird and Tim Duncan,
No.
But I'm talking about freaky athleticism. They're 1 and 2, and then there's a little drop-off of 3. I think the draft starts at the 3rd pick, which is Cleveland, because John Morant and Zion Williamson are going to go 1-2 regardless of what happens. So the 3rd pick right now, it's Cleveland. We don't know how the lottery is going to go, but if the lottery went the way it's supposed to go with the ping pong balls, Cleveland Cavaliers would have the 3rd pick, and I think that's where the draft starts. We know Zion's 1 or John Morant's 2. Okay, yeah, and also the Knicks right now are supposed to get the number 1 pick. I would love for the Knicks to have the number 1 pick. I mean, the Knicks have been irrelevant for many years. I would love for them to get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, have Knox, get Zion Williamson. And they're going to be the top 3, top 4 team in the Eastern Conference easily if they get those players. They'll have a chance to win it all, maybe.
Yeah.
That's going to be a heck of a thing for the Knicks to pick up Zion Williamson to go along with your Kevin Knox to play the 3 and the 4 position, because you got DeAndre Jordan at the 5, and so I tell you what, that's a great starting 5 for the Knicks. DeAndre Jordan at the 5, Zion at the 4, Knox at the 3. I'd put Kevin Durant because of his handle at the 2, and Kyrie Irving at the 1. That is a great starting 5. Even if they don't start the game, those 5 will finish the game.
Right. And I have to agree with you. Like, I think Zion is a 1 or 2 pick. No matter what. The wild card is if there's a overseas player that we know nothing about. Like it seems like every year one of those European players jump up in the top 5. And you're like, who is that guy? And he's a freaking all-star. So that is the only wild card. If there is somebody in that draft, they might go 2, and Ja Morant might drop down to 3. Zion doesn't drop out of the 1 or 2 spots, but Ja Morant might, simply because just the overseas player. And I think people are fascinated by Zion, and he is just a once in a lifetime opportunity talent. Even though he may only be that way for 5 or 6 years, but you've had him for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, Absolutely. Like, let's just say Cleveland ends up with the number 2 pick.
Right.
Cleveland has Colin Sexton, so they're probably not going to take John Morant. I still would. I don't give a damn. I'll have Colin Sexton and John Morant at the 1 and the 2. I mean, they're both. I'd have John Morant as my combo guard at the 2. He's, like you said, he can play in multiple positions. John Morant's about 6'3.5". John Morant would be my number 2 pick. I don't care what player I have. Zion goes 1. And I have the number 2 pick. I don't care who I have. I don't care if I had Michael Jordan. I don't care if I had John Stockton at the point guard.
Right.
I'm not passing up on a talent like John Morant, freakish talent like that can put 30 a night on you some nights. He would play my 2 guard then.
Yeah.
So I have John Morant going number 2. He doesn't slip past number 2.
Man, I almost feel like this is the can't miss draft in the 1 and 2 picks. Like, honestly,
1 and 2 picks you can't.
Yeah. If you mess this up, let's just say Cleveland gets the first overall pick, and they're like, well, like, I like Love, like, I don't want Zion to take away from Love. I don't even know the players on the Cavs like right now. Let's just say they take that English or that European guy like overseas, that first overall pick.
Right.
I wish nothing but bad luck for the Cavs. Like, at that point,
there's no way they can screw that up. I mean,
wouldn't that be a Cleveland thing though? Like, hey, we're going to pass on these 2 for sure things and go with somebody that we don't know about. From like that would be the ultimate Cleveland thing. Like
the last time that happened, and it wasn't an overseas player, but my son and I were watching the draft, and we were like, so the Portland Trailblazers had LaMarcus Aldridge, and so it was the Kevin Durant, Greg Oden draft,
right?
And so my son and I were like, "There's no way you take Kevin Durant. You pair him with LaMarcus Aldridge," and I think they had Brandon Roy. Are you talking about a monster? They would score 120 in your sleep. I said, you do not pass up on Kevin Durant if you're Portland. You pair him with LaMarcus Aldridge. That is an unbelievable power forward and small forward combination. And what they do, they took Oden.
Well, I mean, Oden was a beast, though. I mean,
he was a beast, but Durant's a transcendent talent.
Yeah, but you guys, that is our draft for right now. On the other side of the break here, we are going to talk playoffs. Playoffs? Yeah, we're going to talk playoffs. Playoffs is about a week away, maybe a week and a half. I'm not for sure when exactly the start date is. About 4 games left in the NBA season. So we're going to talk Western Conference first. So come back and join us.
Sure.
All right, guys, welcome back to RTF Sports Talk. I am Michael Buckeister, and if you are new here, consider subscribing. Definitely hit that like button if you're watching us on YouTube Live. That would be very much appreciated. If you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast, be sure to rank that if you would, please. I mean, it'd be very much appreciated if you guys would give us a little ranking. Also consider subscribing to that as well. Once you hit that subscribe button, get automatic downloads. You get to hear our beautiful voices Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays each week. So Marcus, it is playoff time for you guys that are on the Twitter world here. At Marcus the Freak is where you guys can find Marcus. You can find myself at mbuck41. All the information is in the description below, guys. So definitely consider following us on that. But Marcus, playoffs are, like I said, they are right around the corner. What was it? Tuesday we talked Eastern Conference Finals. Since then, there has been a shakeup. Now the Miami Heat is out. Orlando Magic is in the playoffs. So we might have to go back to the East and talk like a little bit of East. But let's talk about the West. West matchups are looking like pretty must-see TV here. So just give me your thoughts on the West right now. I think we're all kind of in agreement that Golden State is going to come out of the West. But what kind of road are they going to get there? Are they going to have a tough road? Are they going to have an easy road? Does anybody want to play Golden State in the playoffs? Let me have it, man.
Yeah, no, it's Golden State's playoffs to win, especially in the Western Conference Finals. I think Golden State's going to struggle a little bit wherever they play coming out the East. But like you mentioned the other day, the Eastern Conference, they're probably going to beat each other up pretty good, especially in that second round, and then those Eastern Conference Finals. And by the time they get to the Warriors, they're going to be worn out, and the Warriors are probably going to beat the team from the East pretty handily. But I still think the East can give the Warriors some difficulties there, especially if it's Toronto. But it's the Warriors to lose in the Western Conference. I mean, there's no way anybody's going to beat them. I mean, they're just too talented. I tell you what, though, just from a Golden State Warriors perspective, they want San Antonio in that first round. San Antonio would be even though San Antonio's hard-nosed, they play the right way. They don't make many mistakes. They make you beat them. That's all fine, well and dandy. But they'd rather play San Antonio than Oklahoma City Thunder, who would give them more of a nightmare in terms of athletic-wise, driving to the basket, Paul George putting pressure on Draymond Green. Golden State would actually have to sweat if they played Oklahoma State in the first round. They wouldn't break too much of a sweat playing my San Antonio Spurs. Spurs might get one game. Oklahoma City could push them to 7 games.
Right.
So Golden State really wants San Antonio in that first round. Portland, Utah slated for that 4-5 matchup. Portland, to their credit, has won a few games, even though Nurkic and C.J. McCollum hasn't been there. That's been very surprising. It's a little bit akin to that your Indiana Pacers are still winning without Oladipo.
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising as well. But the playoffs are a different animal. You can get by and win some regular season games. Can Indiana survive without Oladipo in the playoffs? That remains to be seen. Can Portland survive without Nurkic in the playoffs? That remains to be seen. I don't think they do that. I think Utah, even as a 5th seed, will take one in Portland and then come back and win this thing in 6. I have Utah. Utah would beat Portland right now without Nurkic. Houston Clippers right now, that would be the 3-6 matchup. If Houston has all their players, Capella and Chris Paul's right and everything, Clippers, they're not going to make any noise in the playoffs. Houston should get rid of them pretty well. Although I do think, Doc Rivers, to his credit, he's keeping his team afloat. They're doing well. They're playing the right way. Clippers remind me of like an Olympic team where they don't have a superstar, even though Lou Williams gets 25 points a night. They don't have this true superstar where everything's on his shoulders. They play the right way with Gallinari and those boys. They have a defensive stopper as well. They're pretty good. The Clippers are playing really good. Everybody knows their roles. Doc Rivers should get a lot of credit for that, keeping the Clippers afloat. But they're no match for Houston. They might get a game from Houston, but Houston will advance. And that Denver OKC matchup, that 2-7 matchup, is very intriguing. I love the Denver Nuggets, but man, if they get OKC in that 7 matchup, that's going to be tough. OKC is going to push Denver or Golden State.
Right.
And I tell you right now, if it's San Antonio, Denver, San Antonio will push Denver to their maximum level. I love Denver, but they don't have their second unit. To me is suspect with Beasley and Plumlee and Morris. Those names are not household names. I think everybody remembers Plumlee more for playing at Duke or playing in college than they would playing in the NBA. And who knows how many fans out there know who Beasley and Morris are, the second unit for Denver Nuggets? You know what I mean? So they're going to struggle. I think Denver Nuggets are going to struggle with depth. They have a really good starting 5. But I think OKC could beat Denver. That's a tough one. That's the only one I wouldn't predict right at this moment. I'd have to wait to see how things shake out because it could be San Antonio versus Denver. It could be OKC versus Denver. But either one, San Antonio or OKC, is going to push Denver at that second when the second meets the 7th seed matchup.
Yeah, I like all your picks. I will pick the higher seeds all the way out in the first round here. So as the Western Conference stands right now with 8 days till playoffs, you have Golden State Spurs in that 1-8 seed. You have Trailblazer Jazz in that 4-5 seed. Houston Clippers 3-6 seed, and Nuggets versus OKC. So I'll have the Warriors advancing versus Spurs. I got Portland advancing versus the Jazz. Houston advancing versus the Clippers, and Thunder advancing versus the Nuggets, giving us a Warriors Trailblazers matchup, Houston OKC matchup, which that would be a very, very good matchup.
Wow, that's must see TV.
Yeah,
Houston OKC would be must see TV.
Yeah. So I didn't write down who you had in that Portland series. Did you?
Utah. I get
okay.
Utah. I think the Nurkic thing will come back to bite them. That one. They needed Nurkic to advance. Nurkic, and then McCollum's going to come back, and McCollum's not going to be. You need a little bit of rhythm. He's going to come back, and he's going to try to get in rhythm in the playoffs, and that's not going to work. Utah's Rudy Gobert is going to dominate in the inside without Nurkic. Yeah, Utah's advancing.
Okay, so we will go with your pick there. You have the Warriors versus Jazz, Houston versus. Did you have? And you had the Nuggets versus Houston, right?
Yeah. You know what? I'll reserve judgment because that's 7-8. It's up in the air. I think OKC or the Spurs are going to beat Denver, just like you said. That doesn't mean Denver's a bad team. They're just too young, and their depth is in question.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver can shoot lights out. If you have a game where Nurkic is going and Jamal Murray shooting the ball well, Gary Harris and Will Barton, those guys can shoot lights out. I just don't think they can shoot lights out for 4 games. And they need to shoot lights out for 4 games to win a 7-game series. So I have OKC advancing over Denver if they were the 7 seed and then playing Houston. Yeah, absolutely. Then I would have golly, that's a heck of a matchup, Houston OKC. I don't know who. Now here's the thing: if Chris Paul's hobbling and he's on a minute restriction, or he misses the first 2 games of the OKC series, OKC will beat them.
Yep.
Because that Harden stuff that works in the regular season, by the time you get to the second round or the Western Conference Finals, Harden's wore out. They take the ball out of your hands. Mm-hmm. They trap them on the pick and rolls, and they're gonna say, "Hey, PJ Tucker beat us."
And that's not gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and last year, you see what Golden State did to the Houston Rockets. They said Trevor Ariza beat us, and guess what happened? Trevor Ariza went 0 for 12.
Yeah, exactly.
So that Harden stuff doesn't work in the playoffs. It might work in the first round versus the Clippers, although Doc Rivers is going to have something to say about that. But Harden will fade away by the time he faces the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and he might even fade away defensive wise as soon as Oklahoma City gets a hold to him.
Yeah, and that has been the knock on Houston for a couple years now. They are a great regular season team, but once the playoffs come, they're not a very good playoff team. They are not built to win a championship. They are built to win a lot of games in the regular season, but after that, they are just built to hopefully we get a good matchup and the other team just plays bad. Basically, kind of what it feels like.
2 years ago, Harden wore out against the Spurs,
mm-hmm.
And the Spurs didn't even have Kawhi Leonard. And so here's Harden's chance to beat the Spurs to get to the Western Conference Finals, and he couldn't get by Ginobili, a 38-year-old Ginobili. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
And then the year before, I think Harden flamed out against the Clippers.
Yeah. So you're definitely right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that, as it stands at the current top of that Western Conference bracket, I think Golden State skates to the final pretty easily. Now this Houston OKC matchup, just like we've been saying, this is a very, very intriguing matchup. I got Oklahoma City beating Houston, setting up a Golden State Houston final. That would be huge, I think, to have a 7 seed.
I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be Houston Golden State, but that's only predicated on if Chris Paul is not hurt.
Right.
How many times have we watched in the playoffs the past few years where Chris Paul, he goes to the sideline and they're wrapping his knee.
Yeah.
And then he's on a minutes restriction. Then he's not available for Game 4. Well, then he's not. Then OKC will beat Houston. But if Chris Paul's playing like Chris Paul, he takes a lot of pressure off Harden. You can't trap both of them, and so that Chris Paul's the key to winning. Harden's going to be hard and he'll get his, but Chris Paul's the key to winning, beating OKC and beating the Clippers. If he's available and he can play and he's not on a minute restriction and he's available for every game, Houston's a tough out. They're probably the second best team to Golden State if Chris Paul's fully healthy.
So you would have Houston beating OKC?
Yes, if Chris Paul's healthy, yes. If not, no, OKC winning.
And I think OKC beats them either way. I think OKC is kind of like this Auburn team. They're kind of if they get this 7th seed, they kind of have the road already paid for them. They just got to start the car and just drive. Like, I think everything kind of matches up pretty good for them. And let's say Chris Paul is not right. Do not be surprised if the Clippers nip them in the butt and knock them out. And then that
would be hilarious.
Yeah, and then that just makes OKC ride to the Western Conference Final that much easier.
It absolutely
because
would.
They would destroy the Clippers. Like
they would.
I think it would be a 4-game sweep.
Yeah, it'd be OKC in 5.
Yeah, and I think this is the only way that the Eastern Conference would have a chance to beat Golden State is if it was an Oklahoma City Golden State Finals, because I think that game would go 7 games.
Yeah.
So like the Warriors are probably going to sweep the Spurs. They would probably have, I want to say 6 games versus the Jazz.
Okay.
Probably a very, very big stretch there. More than likely 5, but let's just say they play 6, and then they play a 7-game series versus Oklahoma. I mean, that's quite a lot of games. And let's say Toronto makes it to the finals, just like you've been saying on Tuesday's show. I mean, that might be a subject that would definitely be an opportunity to get Golden State knocked off their throne.
Just like you said, the Warriors would have a tough time in the Western Conference Finals versus OKC, and they probably would beat OKC. That just made my point of the Warriors want no part of OKC in the first round.
Yeah, they don't.
They want to see the Spurs, because that would be a tough first round for them already right off the bat. They don't want any part of that. Toronto, I have Toronto coming out of the East playing the Warriors, and Toronto is like, we were just talking about the Final Four matchups here. Toronto's like that Texas Tech defense. They suffocate you. Mm-hmm. And so they would be Golden State Warriors' toughest matchup in the finals. When you got a Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green playing defense, and an OG and a Pascal Siakam and Ibaka, those guys aren't going to let Golden State breathe. I mean, Golden State's going to probably win the series, but they'll have to do it shooting fadeaway shots and contested three-pointers. It will be one of the most difficult series Golden State's ever played. It'll kind of feel like the LeBron James Cleveland Cavaliers of 2016 playing Toronto, and you just substitute Kawhi Leonard for LeBron James.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely hear everything you're you're saying, but I think we both agree. I think the nation agrees Golden State will be coming out of the Western Conference.
Yes.
No matter who they play. Now the Eastern Conference here, nothing has. I mean, like I believe the top 5 seeds have been set. You really can't change those all that much. But the bottom 3 seeds, everybody has an opportunity. But currently, right now, you have the Orlando Magic at the 8th seed, Brooklyn Nets at the 7th seed, and the Pistons at the 6th seed. Do you think these 3 teams make the playoffs, or do you see the Heat jumping in there, or I think there's another team that's actually has an opportunity as well to jump up and up in there. Who are your final 3 seeds?
Yeah, Charlotte has an outside chance, but no, I don't think Charlotte's even going to get in there. So it's between the Heat and Orlando. That can go either way. I don't even think it matters that much. I think Milwaukee's going to destroy whoever comes in. But I tell you what, Orlando is intriguing. Vucevic and Gordon, those boys can fly. I mean, those guys are good in the post. They can also hit threes. They're really athletic. I mean, they probably would give Milwaukee probably a little better run maybe than Miami. I don't know. I just saw Miami beat my Spurs a couple weeks ago, and Miami looked good doing it. So, but I don't think either one, though, will give Milwaukee too much of a challenge. The interesting one for me is Detroit could give Philly a little bit of run. When you have Drummond and Blake Griffin, and you got Reggie Jackson bombing from the outside, those guys are a lot to handle. Drummond is going to grab 20 rebounds every game, and Blake Griffin's tough to handle. I still think Philly will beat Detroit, but that one could go a little bit of the distance there. But, I think we talked about that a couple of days ago. And I think the world would agree with us. And I think, Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, and Toronto, the top 4 teams in the East, are going to be playing each other in the second round. And that second round is as much CTV as Oklahoma City versus Warriors.
Yeah.
I mean, that second round of the Eastern Conference is brutal.
Yeah, the only thing I would say against that, like your picks in that first round there, is the Pistons are a pretty good team. I watched them play the Pacers Monday night. Yeah, they lost by 15, 16 points, but it was the score did not reflect the game. I kind of felt like the Pistons were resting a lot of other players because they're pretty much locked in that sixth seed. They definitely cannot make up a 9-game spread with like 4 games left to jump into the 5th seed, and then the only thing they can do is drop down to the 7th seed. And thinking about it, I think the Pistons would match up better against Toronto than they do against Philly. Philly just they have an inside outside game that I like the Pistons cannot guard that outside game. They have a pretty good they have a pretty good interior with Blake and Drummond, but their outside game, their point guard play is pretty down. I don't trust their point guard play. But if the playoffs were to start today, I would have to pick. I would have to take all of your picks as well, but I would definitely be circling that Pistons Sixers series and then the Indiana Boston series. I think that is going to go 7 games for sure. The Indiana Boston series, just because I don't know, it is just a feeling that I have that Indiana has that destiny, like we've been saying all show, to make a run in the playoffs and push the Bucks. But I'll definitely have to go with the top 4 seeds moving forward. So that would give us a Milwaukee-Boston matchup and then a Philly-Toronto matchup. I know who you have in that bottom series. You definitely have Toronto because you have them going to the finals. But that Boston-Bucks series, what are your thoughts on that one?
Oh yeah, the Celtics Bucks, that's an amazing matchup. I mean, you talk about 2 great coaches, Brad Stevens versus Coach Mike Budenholzer. That thing is must see TV. The second round of the Eastern Conference. If Brogdon comes back healthy, he's an on the ball defender that'll get in your butt. I mean, he's a heck of a player. That's gonna be nice to see him at 6'3" challenge Kyrie at 6'3". Brogdon is a hell of a defender. And if they can get him back healthy, they get Mirotic back healthy. You got to surround the Greek Freak with shooters, Mirotic and Middleton. You know, Boston's depth is amazing. The problem with Boston all year is they have too many good players. That's you just can't do it. There's not enough basketballs. How are these guys going to develop? How is Jaylen Brown going to develop? You know, how is Rozier going to develop? They don't get much time. And so Boston, this is their last go at it. They're going to lose a couple of these players. Tatum, they're going to keep Tatum, but Jaylen Brown, Rozier, these guys are going to have to go. Maybe Kyrie goes. There's not enough basketballs there with the Celtics. So this is their last run at it, but they're probably going to make some noise here because their depth is really, really going to be really, really good here in the playoffs, and that's what you need to survive this marathon here of the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I still see Milwaukee winning. The Greek Freak is an unbelievable talent. I can't wait to see how he does in these big moments when he has to hit a 20-footer or he has to make these decisions, because Brad Stevens is going to play that really good defense, Celtic defense against the Greek Freak. And I can't wait to see how the Greek Freak responds to Brad Stevens' defense. I'm waiting. I'm anticipating that. But I just think Milwaukee and Coach Bud and the shooters, they made some great trades around the deadline to get the right people in. I like Bledsoe from Kentucky, Brogdon. I mean, these guys in Coach Budenholzer's system, getting Mirotic was huge. It's huge. It's almost like they got Mirotic to go, okay, you got Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown, you got these shooters, you got Jason Hayward. We're bringing in Mirotic with Middleton. So we're just going to have an outside shooting contest. That's going to be fun. And I think the Greek Freak's going to control the paint. I think Al Horford's going to have a hard time guarding that monster. And I think Milwaukee survives. I think if they survive in 7, this is going to be a matchup for the ages.
Yeah, and I know you were high on Toronto, and I definitely see why. But I think the winner of the Eastern Conference comes out of that Milwaukee-Boston series.
That's possible.
I think the winner of that series they'll be skating high into that finals, and that Toronto's going to be a 5 or 6 game series. I think it's going to be very, very lopsided because I think Toronto's going to kind of have an easy road. They're like, oh, this is too easy, and they, that first shell shock of 2 games, they're like, oh, what's happening? And I think they will recover it too late, and I think I think mentally they will check out and it'll be game over. So I really think the winner of that Milwaukee-Boston series will be the representative in the Eastern Conference.
The only way that I see Toronto folding in this playoffs, and it won't be in the first round, it'll be in the second round.
Yeah,
is listen, Kawhi Leonard's a transcendent talent. He's too good. He can put a team on his back. You got to remember, this guy had the Warriors down 25 points in the Western Conference Finals in Game 1 in the middle of the third quarter.
Right.
Think about that for a second. He had Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson down. He was dominating the game. Okay, if you see that Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs, be scared.
Yeah.
Okay?
Definitely.
The only way that I see Toronto losing in the playoffs, losing in the second round, is if Kyle Lowry goes back to his 4 for 20 shooting.
Yeah.
Okay? If you see that Kyle Lowry 1 for 11, then Toronto's in trouble. But if Kyle Lowry plays like Kyle Lowry and steps up in the playoffs, which we've hardly ever seen, Toronto will almost be unbeatable. But so a lot of it depends on Kyle Lowry. Which guy are you going to see? If you see the 4 for 20 Kyle Lowry, Toronto might bow out. If you see a good, efficient Kyle Lowry, then Toronto can win.
Hopefully we see that Kyle Lowry in the first round versus the Nets and not in the second round. Because, to be honest, I would love to see a Toronto Bucks final. I think that'll be a great series.
Yes.
We are going to take one more break, guys. We are getting a little on the time crunch here, but NFL power rankings came out Wednesday per ESPN. Worldwide leader in sports. That's where most of us get our information from. Let's be honest. But we're quickly going to hit on the NFL power rankings on the other side of the break. We'll be right back, guys.
Good stuff. Oh my God! I just watched Eric Bledsoe, just throw the ball at Embiid. That's funny.
Yeah, that was a really good play. I like actually. All right, guys, welcome back to RTF Sports Talk. I am Michael Buckcasher. Like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube Live, be sure to comment, give us a liking and subscribe as well. If you're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc., consider leaving us a ranking so we know how we're doing out there. But Marcus, like I said earlier, on the other side of the break, the NFL power rankings did come out. Way too early, obviously. The draft hasn't even happened yet, so we don't even know what's going to happen. But I'm going to quickly run through these power rankings, and if a team really jumps out to you, like why are they up there? Just say something.
Okay.
But number one, they do have the Los Angeles Rams. They went 13-3 last year. They have my Kansas City Chiefs 12-4 last season, and then they have New Orleans Saints at number 3, New England Patriots at number 4, Los Angeles Chargers at number 5, the Bears at number 6, the Indianapolis Colts at number 7. That's kind of surprised me a little bit. And so did this one as well. Number 8, Seattle Seahawks. Number 9, Houston Texans. 10, the Ravens. 11, Steelers. Surprise there. Philly at 12. 13, the Dallas Cowboys. 14, Minnesota Vikings. 15, Cleveland Browns. And you had the Packers, Titans, Falcons, Panthers at 19, Denver Broncos at 20, Giants, Miami Dolphins sitting at number 22, 49ers at 23, the Bucks, Redskins, Jacksonville Jaguars, the Detroit Lions sitting at 27, Bengals, Bills, Jets, Oakland Raiders at 31. Are they the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, Mexican Raiders, or the Los Angeles Raiders? Nobody will ever know. I even heard a rumor that they're moving to overseas in like London or something like that next year.
Oh my God, no team in London. That's terrible.
And then to round out number 32, Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, this is way too early. Draft hasn't even happened yet. Off-season workouts haven't even happened yet. Most of the retirements haven't even happened yet. But Marcus the Freak, any team jump out at you like, why are they ranked that high, or that low?
Yeah, no, I was agreeing with the playoff with the rankings here, the NFL rankings. Right up until I was with you. Right up until they got to 7, they said the Colts. The Colts are a really good football team.
They are.
Okay, so I don't know if I put them at 7. How about you insert the Dallas Cowboys are too low. I mean, how about you insert the Cowboys at 7 and then have the Colts at 8? That would probably be my rankings. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys have they lost anybody? I mean, they were a pretty darn good football team. You add Witten to the mix,
right?
And then their weakness at safety, was Jeff Heath. So they signed George,
which they're probably going to address in the draft.
Yeah, and they signed George Oelaka from the Vikings. I don't even count Oelaka from the Vikings because I watched him play for the Bengals for many, many years. He was really good. Yeah. Not great or anything, but he's an upgrade from Jeff Heath. Okay, so 100%. You're going to have George Oelaka start at center start at safety with Xavier Woods, and then you have Witten coming back. If you remember the Rams-Dallas game, we struggled on. We had that first good drive to Cooper, right, where they scored the touchdown.
Right.
But then we struggled on second and third downs. How would you have liked Witten to be right there?
Exactly.
For the safety, you know what I mean?
Right.
So Witten's coming back. I mean, Dallas is a pretty darn good football team. I wouldn't have them. What did you say they're at? If they're out of the top 10, that list is crazy.
Oh, they're 13th.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
They're a playoff team, right? Okay, yeah. So no, absolutely not. Dallas Cowboys are a top 10 football team. So and the Colts are really good. I'd flip flop. I'd have put Dallas at 7 instead of the Colts, and have the Colts move down 1. That would be my thing. But other than that, the top 6 teams, I think they're right on the money on those.
Yeah, I feel like the top 6 is pretty good until you get to Chicago Bears. I think they had a fluke season last year. I think Mitchell Trubisky just played out of his mind, and I wonder if he'll be able to duplicate that next season. And the Bears did just sign off their starting tailback as well. I believe.
Howard. Why would they send Howard to the Eagles? That's puzzling to me. Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
So I would drop the Bears almost out of the top 10.
Okay.
And I would, in place of the Bears at the 6, I do like the Seahawks. They always seem to be there, but I don't think they're a top 6 team. I like Houston.
Dallas is better than Seattle. They proved that last year in the playoffs. You got to move Dallas in. Dallas at 13 is crazy.
Yeah. Maybe they're just Cowboy haters, man. To be honest. But yeah, I would definitely move the Bears down, move the Colts down. Although the Colts did go 9-1 in their last 10, I believe it was. They started the season 0-4 and 0-5, but they have not.
Hey, Michael. The Colts have the best offensive line in football, just like Dallas had a couple years ago.
Right.
So they're a good team. I just think they're right around that 8 range. Yeah.
But they haven't put any weapons around Andrew Luck. That's the only downfall of the Colts right now. And the other eye-raising team here is the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 11. They don't have Bell anymore. They don't have Brown. Roethlisberger is aging. I don't think the Steelers are going to be any good this year. I think they're going to be a 6-10 team this season. So I would move them down.
That's
to 20th.
Possible.
Yeah.
Their defense to me hasn't recovered since they lost Ryan Shazier, their first-round pick out of Ohio State, to that neck injury. they haven't played well since he's gotten out of there. It's in spurts they might have, but overall as a defense, that was like the Cowboys losing Sean Lee.
Yeah.
A few years back. Ryan Shazier is a big loss for Pittsburgh, and they really haven't replaced him yet. Maybe they'll do it in this draft.
Hopefully because they like I would love for them to bring back the Iron Curtain days back in the early 90s or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns, people are on this hype train. I don't think I think they'll be a 8-8 team. They will make the playoffs, but they don't know how to win yet. They need to learn how to win.
Yes.
Make the playoffs and then build that hype train. Yes, they have Odell Beckham. They have Baker, that other receiver, Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry. Yeah, yeah.
But their defensive side of the ball is suspect right now. You can score.
I think they were ranked 30th last year.
Yeah, I mean, you can score 45 points a game. Awesome. But if you're giving up 46,
yeah,
come on now. So
I agree. I agree with your 8-8 assessment. The reason I will be a little bit buyer into the Cleveland Browns is they have a good quarterback. I think Baker Mayfield's the real deal.
Yeah, so he is a lightning rod. He makes everybody else around him better.
He reminds me of Brett Favre, the gunslinger, and Brett Favre was pretty special, even though Brett Favre threw a lot of interceptions. But Brett Favre was special. I think Baker Mayfield's in that Brett Favre mold.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously these are way too early rankings. The draft isn't for another 2 weeks, so like a team like the Arizona Cardinals, they could trade off their number 1 overall pick there, get 2 or 3 first-round picks, and they could easily become a playoff team in that division that is always like every team in their division always seems to be right around 500 every year. So if the Cardinals can get it to a 500 team, they're a playoff team. And if you're go ahead.
We talked about that a couple of days ago. I'd keep Josh Rosen and I'd draft Nick Bosa to fit their scheme. I like Quinnen Williams better than Nick Bosa in the draft, but for Arizona's scheme, I like Nick Bosa to play opposite Chandler Jones there. Well, so I don't know why they're doing the Kyler Murray thing. It's for the system for Cliff Kingsbury. But we were talking about 3 days ago. I wouldn't do that. I'd stick with Rosen, who I drafted number 10 overall 2 years ago.
I mean, like, we will definitely dive deeper into the draft next week. But think about this: the 49ers had the 2nd overall pick. If the Cardinals don't draft Nick Bosa, 49ers will. So you got to face him twice a year for many years to come. But I mean, so it's a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But guys, those are the way too early power rankings. Obviously, football kickoff isn't for another 150 days. Draft isn't for another 20 days. Off-season workouts aren't for another 40 days. So obviously way too early. But guys, as always, thank you for joining us here on RTF Sports Talk. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on iHeartRadio, iTunes. If you're on the YouTube page, there's a little link up on the description box up at the top right. Has a little Apple icon. Click on that. It'll take you directly to the iTunes link. Like I said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely share this with a couple friends. We like to interact with you guys on the page. Marcus, any closing thoughts before we head out, man?
No, man, I'm just going to have a good time this weekend. Hey, it's championship weekend. It's Final Four weekend. I'm about to go see Shazam here in a second. I'm excited about that. Actually, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm more excited to see Shazam than my kids are. This is going to be a good weekend. Shazam and Final Four. It doesn't get much better than that.
So on Monday, we're going to have to get a movie review from you to start the show. I'll put that down in my notes so I don't forget, because I think that movie is going to be a bust. Like, I've seen the previews. I'm like, this I don't know. This kind of looks weird.
Hey, it's already gotten good reviews though. So the critics are saying this is a pretty darn good movie. So I'm excited to watch it.
Well, we will need a front to back movie review. No spoilers though for people that haven't seen it, but we'll definitely get your rankings. And guys, we'll catch you next time. We out.
All right.